Bethany Evans from the International Association of Trampoline Parks, IATP. Welcome to the Attraction Pros COVID-19 video series. Thanks for joining us today. How you doing?
Hey, thanks, Matt. Thanks, Josh, for the opportunity. We're doing well over here. We're just like everybody else, locked down and waiting for things to improve.
Right. That whole "how you doing" question sort of has taken on a new form. Nobody really knows. I don't know how to answer that these days. It's like, well, as good as that can be given the circumstances. So tell us kind of what is going on these days with IATP. What have you been busy with?
Yeah, so we've actually been busy with a lot of things. First and foremost, we had to cancel our European events for 2020, unfortunately. We had 3 events scheduled in Amsterdam, Barcelona, and Manchester, which are now rescheduled for April of 2021. So we look forward to bringing Europe 3 unique, events specifically designed for the trampoline park industry next year, same places, same times. Unfortunately, this year was not going to happen like most other things in life. So we've moved on from that. Additionally, we're just working really hard to gather information and resources for our members, for small business loans through either the, disaster loan program or the, paycheck protection program, helping people through that process. And just making sure that we can provide resources, in terms of funding and how you can get funding to keep your park moving at this difficult time. So.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, that's phase 1 of where we are right now. Honestly, in terms of the funding, we have a whole array of things going on, but the first and foremost was to get that information in people's hands.
Absolutely. Before we started recording, you and I talked a little bit about kind of the international landscape, and because you are dealing with parks from all over the world, I'm curious if you can give us a sense sort of how the world is dealing with this, because, for myself and for Josh, we can see things sort of that we see in the news and that kind of thing. We're not dealing with those attractions specifically. So I'm wondering if you can kind of give us an overview of sort of how this is, affecting the world from your perspective.
We first started seeing this obviously long before it hit the U.S. We were getting calls from our German parks and, obviously folks in the UK and throughout Europe, not to mention the fact that we were dealing with making decisions about our European events. So, for us, this has been maybe going on a little longer than, other groups that don't have the international base like we do. With that being said, the parks over there shut down sooner than the U.S. parks. So essentially, what we're seeing is, the same thing. Hopefully they're a couple weeks ahead of us and they can start getting open and moving forward again. But essentially we are all in the same boat globally at this juncture.
Yeah. Have the closures, kind of the timeline of how it's all been working, has it been, I would say to some degree, a source of intelligence for the association for the parks that closed first, or maybe now that are closer to reopening, and on the other side of this, there are resources being able to be brought over to the US and to other regions that are still very much on lockdown with kind of a TBD as far as reopening?
Yeah, it's hard to say at this juncture, quite honestly, on that, because nobody's reopened. What we're using is the information that we're seeing from those areas, and we're in the process of creating a reopening guide to get out to all trampoline park members, essentially outlining all necessary, phases of your reopening. So I would say that watching where our European partners are right now and our European members are helping us put that together somewhat. But essentially, we have to create information that applies to everybody, right? So it's going to be an interesting journey to get to this reopening phase.
Yeah, and speaking of that reopening phase, so many people are talking about the new normal, right? And I'm coming to be of the belief that we're going to have a lot of new normals. Like right now, this is our new normal phase in between when we get to relaunch and that kind of thing. So what are some of the places talking about in terms of what that relaunch and reopen might look like?
Yeah, what we're focusing on and what we will be doing here in the next several weeks is putting together the reopening guide, and then as well as offering a series of webinars that focus specifically on different aspects of reopening. So much of it is going to be, retraining your workforce, rehiring workers, what your cleaning procedures are now going to look like. And so you got your internal components that are really key, but then you have your external messaging to your client base. And as Josh is famous for, managing the guest experience, which hopefully we can tap in and offer some of that expertise to our members as well. But so much of it is going to be that public perception of what we put out there to reassure guests that you can come and have a safe experience, at least from, obviously from this COVID-19 pandemic, and come back to the parks and enjoy time with your family and friends. So, you've got the internal aspect with the operations, you've got the communications externally to your guests and your public. Additionally, you've got your marketing and your social media, keeping people engaged now, and how you bridge that gap between, being closed and then obviously messaging to reopen. So we're working on all aspects of that and what that looks like. I'm sure there's hopefully going to be, I'm hoping they have some guidelines out there, be it, if we have to take temperatures with infrared, or, we're going to have some actual policies in place where, if you've had fever or symptoms for 14 days, please stay home. I would think that we will see that throughout the amusement industry as a whole. I would hope at least that we see that taking shape.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see kind of, I guess, to that new normal, if these things become kind of compulsory components of the operation, as far as the no contact thermometers and, taking people's temperatures as they're, whether it's a theme park, whether it's a trampoline park, or, or anything, amusement or leisure related, to see if that becomes the standard for implementation, and if that is a long-term or just kind of an interim while this whole concern and uncertainty kind of clouds everyone from being able to go out and be able to gather again in places of business like what we do. Do you foresee, or is there any talk of larger infrastructure changes to, I would say, the landscape of trampoline parks in the way that includes the actual components of the facility? Are there certain elements of the parks that kind of have more of a spotlight than others, in ways that might require larger changes beyond operational?
And that's something that we'll have to look at as an industry. I can't say at this juncture that we're going to be making, fundamental changes. But, with so many different operators out there, there'll be plenty of individuals, taking that upon themselves. But as an industry as a whole, there's nothing that, we've recommended or that we're seeing at this juncture.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would imagine, different facilities have different attractions within them. Mm-hmm. Right. So that could be, that could be part of what drives some of those decisions. But I would also imagine that it's also going to be about the consumer demand. Right. And that's one thing that we talk about with all kinds of other attractions, is what is that demand going to be? Is there going to be a pent up demand? And are they going to want to come out in droves, or are they going to be really, really cautious? And, I think that really is going to drive what we do. Some places I've talked to, they're working on different contingency plans. Mm-hmm. Part of it is an exercise in, hey, we've got the time, let's figure out what this is going to look like. Sure. Part of it is that they just don't know. So I'm curious, kind of even more on a personal level, for the people that you're talking to, how is their outlook? Are they feeling optimistic? Are they feeling like we're going to get to the other side of this? Are they feeling like they're going to make a comeback, and we'll hopefully be stronger than ever? I'm just curious kind of what their outlook is.
Well, for our industry, I feel like we've always kind of been like the underdog who came in, and it was always like, what are these things? Are they going to stick around? Are they going to go away? I think we're here to stay. In fact, I know we're here to stay, and we will come out of this on the other side stronger than ever. I think we'll see, more additional changes being made to parks and the evolution of the trampoline park into that adventure park model. So I think ultimately, there's a level of enthusiasm and optimism amongst our industry still, and I don't foresee that changing. We're here and we're going to, help our members and help the industry cross the bridge here to the other side of this situation that we're all in.
What about for the events that are still anticipated to take place? I know you mentioned that the Europe events are
Sure.
canceled. I assume Las Vegas in September is still on the board and still planning to be happening, as at least as of now. And I'm actually kind of curious as far as if there's going to be maybe some shifts or additional focus on whether it's the educational content or even looking at exhibitors and suppliers coming in uh,
Mhm.
that is specifically related to helping trampoline parks, whether it's improve their cleanliness standard or improve the communication to guests as far as cleanliness standards and enhancements just all around.
Sure, no, 100%. We are still on for Vegas at the Paris on September 20th to the 22nd. So yes, I mean, the venue is assured us they will be open and operating. I'm really optimistic that by September, we're going to be in a place where we can connect buyers with vendors and provide this opportunity that everybody's missing out on right now. So as of right now, we are planning 100% to have the trade show as scheduled and have the educational sessions take place as they always have. Obviously, we will be including more resources to deal with, in effect to this situation, guest experiences, obviously cleaning, crisis communications, which we've always been keen on offering those resources. But as a result of the situation, we'll probably expand a little bit. There were plenty of issues that we were dealing with that had nothing to do with the COVID before this. So we will focus on that as well. We don't want to get sucked into all COVID all the time, and make sure that we're getting focused and enhance our offering to include valuable tools to deal with situations like this, but also focus on how we can provide resources to help operators be successful. So we'll hope to see you both in Vegas and everybody watching.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, putting on a conference is no small feat,
Hmm.
in a regular year, right?
Sure.
Are there anything that you are starting to look at, as parks look at how they relaunch? Are you looking at doing anything differently, based on social distancing, based on, people's perception of being in the same room with a lot of other people? Are you looking at doing anything differently that way when it comes to your conference?
Yeah, I guess we'll see where we are come September and what, the recommendations from the WHO and the CDC are, what we need to do, but we will obviously take heed to that information and advice and make the necessary adjustments. Maybe we put less vendors in our trade show floor, just to create more space and have it more open than crowded. That's something that we realistically might do. I can tell you just from a financial perspective, we're looking at ways that we can ease the burden for our sponsors and exhibitors to help them still be there. But instead of having, larger sponsorships, they spread it out amongst several, instead of expecting contributions from a smaller group. So we're looking at all aspects of things on how we can make the experience more obviously safe and enjoyable for our attendees, but also how we can help mitigate some of this situation for our sponsors and our vendors as we go through this. So we're dealing with a lot of unknown factors here as we sit in April, whatever it is at this juncture. I've lost track of days, times, weeks. It's all one big blur. So, we'll follow whatever guidelines we have to. Maybe we'll have sponsorships for hand sanitizer this year. I don't know, but we will definitely, roll with the changes.
Well, we know that they've got the budgets for it.
Right? Yeah.
From hand sanitizer to toilet paper, whatever it is.
I know. It's crazy.
How have I've been trying to, stay in touch with a lot of people kind of within the industry, and kind of wondering, what members have been able to do to make sure that they're able to kind of stay in contact, not just with the association, but be able to collaborate with one another to share resources. Has there been any kind of, I guess, that kind of discussion or platform to be able to kind of share resources amongst members?
Well, we actually launched a form on our website that members can go on and discuss amongst each other different ideas and concepts. A lot of the manufacturers have taken, the platform of doing some town halls and putting themselves out there to answer questions and be available, for their clients and the industry as a whole. So we see a lot of information going back and forth in that manner, and as mentioned, we will be doing the webinars and providing those resources and hearing from our members on what they need as well. So I think there is some coordination amongst, folks out there, and just having conversations, within the IATP. Our committees are working together, globally. We have a UK committee, we have a German committee. Obviously, we have our board of directors who have been very engaged on what's going on. So as an industry, we are talking to each other. We are hearing from, our committees and regions, and moving forward, with that information accordingly.
Bethany, I'm curious, obviously this situation has affected everyone, including employees and managers and owners of facilities. And a lot of people are asking, if we now have furloughed or laid off or remote employees, how do we either stay in touch with them? How do we reach out to them? How do we kind of keep them engaged? So I'm curious if you have any stories that you've heard from some of your facilities that are, really are able to kind of pull at the right strings to kind of keep people involved, so that when we're ready to reopen, we've got that pool of staff that we need ready to go.
I think one of the coolest things that I've seen out there is brands using their staff for their social media, right? And engaging them in their social media posts, be it through, TikTok videos, or having their staff, send video messages. But I think that's a really great way to keep people engaged, your workers, making them feel part of the brand, while we're all, navigating this situation. So I think, we've seen a lot of also like the really cool posts with, each one taking a picture with a sign, we're all in this together or whatever, in their squares. So I think, I think it is important to make your team feel part of the whole at this juncture. And, if they're not doing it, I would highly recommend you do it. Utilize them for social media, utilize them get on a Zoom call. It doesn't take anything to get on a Zoom call for 40 minutes and just connect with everybody and check in with everybody. And I think it's really important for business owners, not just in our sector, but all over, to just have that human element right now, right? To remind the workers that they have value and they're of real importance to the whole business plan. So I think that's something that definitely everybody should be a part of at this juncture.
Yeah, it's really cool to see that, especially you said, engaging their employees in social media, because I would say that kind of kills two birds with one stone there, of the staff engagement and then also the guest engagement too. So on the other side of that is saying, all right, well, what can we do to keep our guests engaged so that we're top of mind for them, that when we reopen, that we want to be one of the first things that they do when we come back. Have you seen anything that has been kind of specific, tailored to the guest side of it as well?
Obviously, we're seeing some marketing for gift cards. You can still support your local business, be it trampoline parks or any amusement attraction or any industry really, but through the purchase of gift cards or season passes. Those are still things you can do to help your local business during this rough patch. So we see a lot of the marketing. We see, we're seeing the virtual connection with birthday parties. And just, really trying to make our guests feel special still, regardless of the fact that they can't host their birthday party, but trying to still, let them know that the trampoline park still cares, that, it's your birthday and we're sorry that you're missing out on the fun that we can offer you here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing that, again, like Josh said, it kind of keeps the facility in top of mind for the guests, but also then utilizing your team members, you can do that too. And it kind of goes back to what I asked you before too about the optimism or how people are feeling. And you can tell people, you know, they've got this desire to help or entertain or serve, and COVID's not going to stop that. Right. So that's what I'm seeing in our industry. And it sounds like that's what you're seeing too, is that whatever we can do to either help our guests or serve them or entertain them in some way. Okay, you can't come to our facility, you can't jump, you can't, you know, participate in our attractions, but we're going to give you something to do. Yeah. We're going to entertain you in some way because that's what we do. And to be able to provide that, I think, is really important, especially when there's so much, you know, negativity and so much bad news and so much conflicting news. You know, to kind of have that levity in our day is, I think, really important.
And we're seeing so much community engagement through various brands, just doing things for the community, being from donating money to you know, the cause, to showing some real public support for health workers. So I'm proud of our industry. I'm proud that they're out there staying engaged in their community. And, you know, we are a part of the community, and remembering that is crucial at times like this. So as we get up and running again, you know, finally, we've talked so much here at the IATP about our Let's Get Jumping campaign. We finally have the perfect platform to really launch this on a really large scale. So as soon as we can get our parks open and we can get out there, we will really make a huge push for Let's Get Jumping, reaching out to the Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts, the moms clubs, the youth groups, you name it. And creating that big vibe to remind people the benefits of jumping and to have a good time doing it, and the value that you can bring, you know, health-wise to your own self. So that's one of our ways we're going to really push after this whole thing passes, to help people get jumping again by offering some events globally, and do a huge, you know, media push as well. To just get people back in our doors. So that'll be fun.
I mean, that's awesome. I mean, everyone is storing up their energy right now. So, you know, I think the second the industry is able to reopen, that, you know, that campaign is going to have a very important message to it. So, so thank you very much for doing that, and thank you so much for joining us on this video series. Any final message to our audience and to the industry?
Yeah, just, you know, we are here as the IATP as a resource. We're working with our other fellow trade associations, you know, keeping in touch with them as well, making sure that everybody's working together for the common good, and that is to, you know, get reopened and provide positive, optimally safe guest experiences in light of the new world we all live in. So we're all hopefully going to come out stronger and better on the other side of this. So.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well,
thank you. Yeah, Bethany, thank you so much for joining us today, and hope you stay well, stay healthy, stay safe, and hope to see you in real life soon.
September. Yep. We'll see you in September. And I'd send my kids to a trampoline park today if there was any open. Send you off. Burn off that steam. Yeah, 100%. So thank you guys. I appreciate the time.
Pleasure.